Hello, I'm Harry Cecil with Hear Us, Hear Them, the artistic director, along with the better half of our group, Jamie Sharp, the executive director. And we're blessed to have Carlos Cordero with us, the great composer. So, Carlos, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Harry. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so let's just start with who is Carlos? Like what are you doing currently? What yeah, let's start there. So like what is your get down?
Awesome. Starting deep. So, yes, hola people. My name is Carlos. I am from Venezuela, and I'm mainly two things. So I'm a composer, right? Although for a long time I've been kind of trying to define what does that mean, right? And it's kind of I am a writer because I do a lot of writing, uh, whether it's ideas, music, text. I'm always writing something. But I'm a composer, and lately I've been developing my career towards music advocacy. So I'm a new choral music advocate, and I really like that because it doesn't. I always said, kind of, while I was discovering my path, that I'm not the usual composer. Like I will find myself doing a lot of home other things, and people are like, "Don't you want to go and write music all the time?" I'm like, no, I want to do other things as well. And it's been wonderful to discover that I can do this uh, composition, but also develop that new choral music advocacy, and not only talk for my music, but for others as well.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
ask. So what does that mean to be a new choral music advocate? And can Jamie and I join? What does that mean? Like, are
yeah,
we
for
new
sure,
choral music advocates already?
anybody can be a new choral music advocate, and I feel that we are with everything that we do. We, as singers, as administrators, as conductors, we're always advocating for the choral music of today, right? So that's what's awesome. I think it's just kind of a good way to label it in a way that people recognize it and understand what they're doing actively, because you may think, oh no, I'm just not a conductor, I'm not advocating, not what you've seen how many people speak about the composers, the music, the stories that we do. And I decided that I wanted to do that because I find myself, I'm kind of a researcher. I'm always listening to random music. I always say, people ask me, like, what's your favorite music? I'm like, difficult question. I'm always listening to random music. I'm always listening to new people. And I love to talk about that, right? So I found myself, people will ask me, Carlos, tell me about your music. I'm like, this and this and this and that. And have you listened to these three people and these three pieces? And I found myself doing that more and more. Or if I don't have the right piece that people are looking for, I know probably who has it, right? So it's wonderful for me to be able to connect organizations with composers, and it's been wonderful to learn how to be a new choral music advocate.
Where did that come from, Carlos? Like in the sense of, did you feel like there was a need for this advocacy, or was it just coming from your own joy of putting on new music and
You know,
promoting new music?
it actually came from several things. So back then, when I moved from Venezuela to United States and I was studying composition, I was trying to discover, like, okay, I'm supposed to be writing. Why am I not writing more music? Kind of way. I actually went to kind of an online therapy to learn more about careers and stuff, and kind of, like, what are my skills? What are the things um, that are my strong suits, etc. And Rowan Haring is her name. I really owe her a lot because she helped me decipher this. She said, Carlos, maybe the position that you want to be in has not been great. Maybe the thing that you want to do is not something that you will normally find on a degree or on a place or on a company.
Right.
Why don't you explore what does it mean, your desire for connecting people, right? I always say, one of the things that I haven't done yet is, if there was a position that is called brainstormer, that's me. Because I like to have ideas. I just like to write down. People come to me and like, how do we do this? I have 5 ways of how we can do that.
So you'll
Um,
throw out the ideas and just let someone else execute the plan.
yeah,
I
yeah.
dig that.
So the advocacy for me just came from the side of knowing the people, but seeing that they were not connecting.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I know, I know who you should be talking to, but why is point A and B not getting together? So hello, let me introduce you to
Okay.
And it's something too that I will have loved that there was for me, more available. I found people that did it for me, and I'm here where I am right now because of those people. And I wanted to be the how do you say that, then normal, to be the way that we do things.
Okay.
Just so there's more people available for others.
I dig that. I dig that. I mean, that's part of at least a bit of our intention here to them is to promote composers in a way to normalize them so that they are standardized in typical repertoire. So yeah, so I dig that. I think that's really cool. And
That's
has
awesome.
that allowed you to meet a whole bunch of new different composers more than if you didn't start that initiative?
Yes. So what's great about it is that while researching, you get to meet them, but also when you get to talk to them, not only it's funny because not only while I'm trying to help them or to connect them to something, we get into these talks of our careers and our things, and we learn about our lives. One thing that we've realized in the composition career is that it's a very kind of lonely world when it comes to the previous work. If you don't get to connect with many organizations, right? You're just in your studio creating music, kind of in a bubble, and it's very hard sometimes to be able to withstand that much a lack of connection. So it's been interesting to share, to understand that we all share those feelings. That there are a few ways that we can be making our life easier. For example, it's just interesting to talk to people. And one thing that happened outside of this new choral music advocate was the Happy Choir Commission projects, and
Yeah.
I got to connect with people that were not choral composers, usually, right? But they come, for example, from the instrumental world. So when we have these talks, they're like, "Oh, we do this like this in instrumental work." I was like, we are learning both, right? We're both learning things about each other, and I like that. I'm a learner, and I like to connect with people. So it's been interesting to get to know new voices that I probably wouldn't have known if I wouldn't be searching.
That's what's up. All right, so I'm gonna come back to the Happy Choir Commission project, but before that, let's just talk about what drew you to being a composer full time. Like you woke up one day and said, "This is my life. I am a composer." Like, how long were you on that journey?
Awesome question. Awesome question. So, composition for me came as a teacher. Most of my music career came as a way of teacher until kind of setting into composition. Um, I actually started university in med school. Um,
I read
and
that,
yes,
and
I
it probably made your parents not okay.
yes, yes, I did 1 year, and it was awesome. It was awesome. It was in Venezuela. It was amazing. In fact, years later, during the pandemic, I got to do here in the US an EMT course, and it was awesome again to come back to it and to understand how much I love medicine and how much I love to learn about the body, right? And to know that I could do it in English, most importantly, because oh my God, it's one thing to do medicine, but other to do it in English. So it was awesome to see that. But yes, I changed to music in Venezuela. Of course, my parents flipped out. Like, what are you doing? But I was lucky enough that later they come on board and they understood that I was serious about it. I came with a plan. I came with ideas of the future. I didn't know what it will hold, but I said these are the ways that I'm going to try. Um, I did that in Venezuela. I did my bachelor's and my master's while I was in the conservatory in my city, Maracaibo. There, I was fortunate enough to have a voice teacher called Maribel Gomez. She was awesome. She was awesome because she taught me not only music and singing, but also I think something important in my career has been how to be a person, how to be a musician that cares
Mm.
for others, right? With her, I went to her choir, Venezuela, and there I met people who were incredibly talented and incredibly human. So that was
Mhm.
also a big part of this love for music. Before that, I have to mention too that my cousin has been also um, always the one who has shown me several places where to develop my music. Where to the first part where I actually got to do choir first was in the university where I studied music. Sorry, medicine. Miguel, my cousin, told me, "Hey, let's join the college choir here. It's made of people that are not music majors. You know, anybody can join, and you can learn choral music since you like singing so much." And we
Hmm.
went there. I loved it. We actually learned everything by rote. By rote is how we said it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by then, I didn't even read um, strongly music. I had only been doing keyboard lessons. Um, so there, I got to learn all this love for singing, all this love for choral music, and I didn't know. This is gonna come as a surprise. I think I don't know, but back then when I was in that choir, somebody said like, "Hey, we were recording a CD," and they were like, "Oh, do you want to do you and your best friend? Do you want to do an arrangement for this CD?" I was like, "How do you do that?"
Right.
Well, you can do whatever you want. You are the arranger. I was like, really? So they explained to me well, I was a composer and all of that. I was like, really, you can be that as a like I really didn't know
So you
it
didn't even start composing until you
until
dabbled in the choir from med school. Huh.
yeah, until later. And it was I actually started composing kind of popular songs with with my guitar and keyboard and stuff. One day probably those recordings will see the light. I don't know. But that take me to learn more about how to record. I used to have a home studio at home, and I would just kind of start layering things and stuff, and really got into it. When I decided to write my first choral piece, it actually was kind of it was a kitty that I love. I love it so much that I wrote for my three other best friends and me. And we will um, plan to do kind of a mass to be able to sing around my city. So I wrote this Kyrie for us, and we end up performing this on a course with a composer from Cuba. She is, or Cuba, I should say, in English. She is Beatriz Corona, and she's amazing. She's another person that really changed things for me because when we go to that kitty is like 2 minutes. It is only 2 minutes, but it's it's something very deep to my heart. And when we got to do it there, she was like, you can do this, right? Yeah, that you can be a composer. I was like, really? Like, what are you talking about? I mean, and you that you are a composer, right? You're telling me
Right.
this is amazing. And that led me to when I was going to graduate from my degree my degree in Venezuela was like general music. So I got to conduct, I got to do a little bit of mostly conducting and choral music, but do a little bit of everything.
Okay, so just
Yeah.
so I'm following the timeline, when you
Mhm.
did this Kyrie with the Cuban composer, remind me, her name was?
Beatriz Corona. I will
Okay.
totally connect with her because she's amazing and her music is so good.
When you did this performance with her, were you still a med student or were you
No,
now
I
a
already
full-on
was
music major?
I was full of music major by then.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And and by then I was then finishing that degree, and for my final project we were asked to either conduct something, perform, or compose, right? So this was a problem. I wasn't great at conducting, and I didn't really want to conduct. I didn't really want to conduct 15 minutes of music. Um, I didn't feel like I really want to do that for my final project, right? Uh, then okay, singing. I'm studying singing at the conservatory. I'm a tenor, so that tells you a lot. But I didn't have the high notes for repertoire. I wasn't a low tenor. Like I didn't have much repertoire. I was like, I don't have enough repertoire for. We were discovering my voice. My
Uh-huh.
professor Maribel, she was just battling with me to be able to discover to kind of find my voice. And then composition, I had just done 2 minute kiri, right? So I was like, huh. So what did I decide? I decided to do an opera or an operetta.
Wait a minute, you went
Uh,
from a Kyrie to an opera?
Yes, it's crazy. It is crazy. In fact, right now I'm working on it because we're gonna do it next year on here in Austin. But basically, what happened was that I said, okay, my best friend, I told her, man, I have an idea. It's gonna be called Un cuento de luces y sombras, and it's going to be about racism. But the story is going to be kind of within a magic idea, right? And so we sat down and we're like, okay, let's kind of create this idea. And then he wrote the libretto, a beautiful, beautiful libretto about basically. So I make it short. The world is divided in lights and shadows. From on one side is always day, on one side is always night. They are not to be they are not to be uh, merged or anything. They cannot come to, yeah. So they learned later that the power is in being together. The colors are born after they discover that they want to be together. And Herman is his name. He's also a composer. He wrote a beautiful, beautiful libretto. So I use the Kyrie as the motive for that opera. The Kyrie is Kyrie, and that little thing, it's all over the opera. And I somehow I sometimes look at that and I'm like, I want to do that again. I want, at some point in here, every time that I have to face the blank page, I'm like, how do I do this? So yeah, I did that. I was nervous because I didn't know after that, so I did the operetta. I performed it and I kind of conducted the rehearsals. So I kind of got to do everything just to kind of have a sense of what I wanted to do next. So I asked my professor, um, I don't know what to apply for. I knew that I wanted to study outside of Venezuela, but I didn't know what to apply for: singing, conducting, composition, what, right? Um, and she was very kind. She said, Carlos, you can do it all. You just have to go for it because you're very determined, and that really helped me to really try for things. Right. In Venezuela, I did then the master in composition because that was one of the only options, and I thought it would be kind of a jumping point while I waited to have everything ready for my applications for outside.
That's cool. That's a very short journey, right? Like different than you hear composers talking about they started writing at 5, 6, or they were doodling with the pen at 7, 8 years old, and you were like in the middle of a medical degree, and then you finally started doing a thing from arranging to a Kyrie, yeah. And then like 4 semesters later, you're writing a whole opera. Like, is that?
It was crazy. I think it was 2 semesters later.
That's what I'm saying. That's bananas. That's what's up. That speaks to clearly your passion and your dedication to the craft.
Yeah,
that's what's up. And Jamie is an opera star, so you make sure you look her up when you're looking for a mezzo. You look for your shadows and light piece.
I love it. And it's been just beautiful to connect with the people that care about these stories, because for me it was always about that. I wasn't going to write something that I didn't believe in. So when we come up with the libretto, it was like, oh, I want to come back to this libretto. I want to come back to this story and keep working on it, right? So that helped me so much to understand what I wanted to do. In school, I was able to kind of create my portfolio to be able to apply to outside. But interesting enough, also, because sometimes people, when you read stories or see stories, you see a lot of success, right? But let me share with you that for me, composition was also decided kind of by, what's the word that I want to use? I was like, God, send me a message, a clear message, what we should do, right? Mm-hmm. I only auditioned to 3 places, right? And one of those places was University of Houston, that my cousin Miguel, the one who took me to the choir the first time, he studied there. So he told me, this is amazing, check out this place. And, so that was one of the places that I auditioned for. But I auditioned to 2 other places for singing and composition, and in this place also for singing and composition. And what did I was called for an audition for University of Houston, mm-hmm. for both, but nothing else, right? For nothing else. I was like, okay, this is this is the place. Thank you so much for the
I mean, clearly it made it obvious, right?
yeah, thank you so much for the clear
Yeah.
for the clear signal, right? That this was the path to explore. There I was lucky enough to meet amazing faculty, Dr. David Ashley White, Dr. Betsy Weber, who taught me again so much about music, but also so much about being human and being bringing yourself to the equation of the music, right? Of how we create and how we also connect with other people. Um, the voice faculty there was also amazing, teaching me so much. So it was just beautiful to be able to grow in the ways that felt natural. That was important for me to feel that I wasn't being kind of put in a box, which was kind of a fight during the degree to kind of, because I wrote a lot of choral music during the degree, right? I knew by that time I want to be a choral composer. I want to specialize on this, right? Um, I want to learn as much as I can about this. And in my jurists, they were like kind of like, and there are instruments to write for. I was like, I understand, I understand. I actually had a nickname, uh, which was kind of it was funny because I had this nickname in the juries. It was Slow and Beautiful, because that's mostly of my it was like, is this a bad thing? I don't understand. Like I'm hearing good and they were like, yeah, but you're just doing one thing. I was like, but Slow and Beautiful is not, it's not bad.
I mean, but that's it though. Like that's like I can't think of any choir that doesn't have that type of lean, like
Yeah.
slow, beautiful, give me a little closed harmony with some shimmer.
Yeah,
And
it was
then
awesome though. You know, they pushed
yeah.
me to write more different music, and it was nice to find also my fast and furious, I guess. Will be, I don't know. But finding all of these people on my path really helped me shape, understand when that composition was the place that I wanted to be in, and in that way. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be writing just writing, but I wanted to care about the connections and the people that I was talking to and what I
Yeah.
was talking about.
I mean, that's refreshing. I'm grateful for that. Like, and then coming from conservatories, especially, like it's so easy to lose the humanity connection to why do we sing? Why do we make music? Like, it's not just about excellence for excellence sake. Like, this is supposed to channel or connect us in some way emotionally. And it doesn't always have to be a happy emotion, like, but something. We should feel something. And I think we lose sight of that when we're going through our music history books and studying scores and things like that. We lose sight of the why a lot. So I'm glad that you didn't lose sight of that. That's awesome. And that,
And it's difficult
yeah,
too
go ahead.
because sometimes you get in your head like, like it's a music technical enough, like is it you get a kind of a voice that is kind of doubting you, like, is this too simple or is this too, I'm like, no, it is what it is. You're making it, meaningful.
Right. And
You're
like, and
making
who are you trying to impress? Like, make the music whatever the music is,
like,
and just let it speak for itself. Because like someone like me might lean on a Ayúdame, and someone else might go right to your Kyrie piece. Like someone's going to find it if it's meant to speak to them, and I think that matters. That's what's up. So talk to me about the Happy Choir. I just want to know about the name. How did you get there? Like, did you have a lot of unhappy experiences and you just like, I need to manifest joy? So let me put a choir together and call it the Happy Choir.
So it's been interesting because everybody asks me, like, do you have a choir? Is it the Happy Choir? In fact, I got emails like, I want to be part of the Happy Choir. I was like, God, should I do the Happy Choir? The Happy Choir is my brand, right? That's the name of the brand. I don't have a choir. I conduct. I'm a director of music of a church in Central Presbyterian Church, and there I conduct the chancel choir, right? So that's my choir. But the Happy Choir is my brand, and it's kind of a philosophy for me. I started using this happy composer kind of hashtag and kind of idea um, at the beginning. Um, and then when I was trying to kind of learn about my branding and about what I wanted to, how I wanted to show myself, right, how and what was part of my core things. I actually went out and asked people. I asked, when you get to know me, when you see me, when we talk, what words come to mind? And the word that repeated the most in this survey was happy.
Jamie, was that your experience when you ran into him with exigence? She was like, okay,
Very
happy, I
much
see
so.
it.
So much
Right.
joy. I love that. I
That's,
love
That's what's up.
that.
I just wanted to make sure like that was true to form. We
Very
have
good.
someone here that can speak to that. There you go.
And it was interesting also for me because then for these past years since I moved, it's been difficult to be an immigrant and to get used to all the things. I've had my struggle with mental health, right? So I saw that, I've been exploring the happy choir and happy composer, and I'm like, oh, I have a brand that says happy. What a pressure. And it's been beautiful to understand what that means, what happiness really means. It doesn't mean to always be smiling or to always be happy, for lack of another word, but it's helping me to see the depth of that word, right? So for me, lately the happy choir has been a choir that allows people to communicate and to talk about the difficult things, where people feel heard, where people feel that they can come to the equation as they are, and they can talk about things, right? Because so many times in our life, sometimes we have to push things down because we don't feel that either what we say is valid or that it wouldn't be well received. And I think that a happy choir will be one where people feel safe to be able to do this, to have these difficult conversations and still be together.
Yeah.
And it's been beautiful to just learn that and to be able to have that same conversation with people, because people have taught me too as well what does it mean to be a happy choir.
I love that though. I think that's cool. And I like that the happy choir doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be smiling all the time. Like that, like it's more of a seeing the positive outlook or finding your way through. And I dig that. That's cool.
And for me, it was also the simplicity of it. I've learned through the years too that I gravitate towards simple text, simple phrases, simple messages that are like a conversation, right? In fact, and I'm going to blank of the name. I probably will search it later. But you see this paint, right? So my husband Ryan Heller gave me that paint. I don't remember the artist right now, but I will find it in 1 second. And it's called Happy Yellow Tree, and it's just so simple. There is depth, there is so much depth to be explored there, but the message is very simple. It's
Yeah.
just the tree being there, the tree being I am yellow and I'm a tree and I'm here, and that's what I'm showing, right? So I don't know, I've learned so much from this paint.
No, I mean, I dig that. I love the simplicity of it all. Like I think it removes like a pompous nature that we didn't have. I mean, we just left the ACDA conference, and while I love the ACDA conference, I also am always drained by it because we can't lose. We lose sight. We can't leave behind this film of arrogance, this film of I don't know. It's just, you know what it is, man. We're the choir people are the most snobby. Like I don't know. Like we're all kind and we all smile and we're loving, but we're also incredibly critical and cynical. And we'll leave a concert and talk about all the negative stuff first before we talk about the beauty of the music and things like that. And so, like,
And
I
that's
love the
also
idea of the happy choir. Like, you don't have a fancy title, like you don't have like something in Latin that you translate to English or something in German that you need a book to understand like what it really means. Like no, the happy choir. Like, and
yeah,
I think that's so fundamental because again, why do we sing? Why are we gathering together and communing and trying to harmonize? Like, and I think that's great. And you talking about simple. Like, I love looking at your bio and you break it down in these tariffs of like, let me be as simple as possible, and then I'll get a little bit more expressive, then I'll get a bit more professional, then I'll even go into third person with my bio. Like the opening of your bio is like 3 sentences. I give hugs. I write choral music. I advocate for new choral music. I just love that that's the beginning of it, because I mean, like that's kind of how I wanted mine to be too. Like my bio is like, look, man, I like music. I want to advocate for the underrepresented. Like I really don't want to have to tell you all these things that I did, because it gives this pressure that only because you know all the things I did are you going to listen to me. Like, and I don't think that's relevant. Like you should listen to me if you want to. And if you don't want to, so be it. But it shouldn't be dictated because of my 250 word accomplishments. Like, but that's the world we live in. Like you said, like, so you started with 3 sentences bio, but I'm sure you drafted the 250 word third person because there was probably a company was like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to give me something a bit more polished.
Yes,
Right? Like, I mean, who are we doing this stuff for?
You know, and it's interesting because it happened to me in school too. I'm probably not in Ayúdame, but I have a piece being performed, being premiered this week, right, with Nelson Coros and Dominic Diorio.
Oh, cool.
And there I wrote, this is, for example, with a youth ensemble, Commonwealth youth ensemble, and I write there, and in many other scores I've done, you know, like, hey, altos, this is where you come in, and you know, let's rock this part in the score, right? And they respond to it. They tell me how much they love that, or how much they enjoy seeing that there. And me too, I enjoy putting it there because this is communication for us. This is a place where we get to explore how we're making music. And the why were we doing the notes in that way? You know, I asked myself in grad school, oh, because this is how you're supposed to do it. In fact, the opera tag kind of line that repeats itself is, this is how things are supposed to be. You know, and that's the teaching, right? The lights here, the shadows here, this is how things are supposed to be, right? And I said, but why? You know, why do we write in the score things in Italian, right? Why morendo? Why why these things, right? I understand tradition, I understand all of that, right? And there are moments for that, and there are moments that we can also feel free to say, you know, a word in English, you know, something in the language that we speak with the choir. So writing those notes, you know, some people might disagree and say, oh no, that's super unprofessional in the score. I feel it's more honest to show myself in that way, because this is the way how I'm going to address the choir.
Exactly. Right? And what is the point? The point is for them to completely understand what you want, so that is the effect that is rendered. Like I can do it in Latin, I can do it in Italian, I can do it in German, or I can just tell you in the vernacular language, this is what I want, please do it. And I'm grateful for composers who do it that way. Like I mean, I'm getting a doctorate, so I'm comfortable interpreting Italian expressive markings, and I'm comfortable breaking down German and French. But I find it so interesting that we lose sight of the only reason why we're doing it in Italian is because it was Italian composers that first started doing it. Or the only reason why we're translating this Mahler text, this Mahler expressive marking from German, is because he's German. But it's okay for them as Europeans in the classical time periods, but it's not okay for us in the 21st century to write it how we want to talk it. Like I find that well, this is your time. I get on a big soapbox about Eurocentric frames and how that keeps us all behind and oppressed, if I'm being honest. But
you know, back in grad school, there was a simple shift that I enjoyed so much. Augusta Reed Thomas is her name. She's a composer, and she will say, "Why would I write adagio, you know, 60, 62, or whatever, moderato, when I can write with pain and running, you know, as if you were jumping from a cliff, you know?"
Yeah.
Why would I use that space to write something other than what I want them to feel like? You have to, she would say, you have to give the performer the feeling, the idea that you want to, right? There are so many shades of moderato that you can do, right? So help them see your vision and help them. And it's also a way for me. I'm a singer too, so when I sit in a rehearsal, I want to come to rehearsal, number one.
Mhm.
I want to feel connected to the paper, right? Number two, uh, and I want just to be able to connect with the ideas of the composer. So when I see these things that go a little bit extra, not extra in a way of a show, but extra in terms of I see personality in the score, I enjoy that experience more than seeing moderato, 72,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, let's go.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you're Ayúdame, like you're like desperately. Like that's how you open it. Like you don't say Largo or something like that. You're like, you need to give us a tempo, but also give us a feeling, a mood. And I
Yeah,
think
there is a piece that it's tongue twister that it's called Weather the Weather, and my indication is like a happy dog in the beginning. And it's I know that might be silly, but it's such an image. You see a happy
yeah.
dog, and you are like you already get the feeling.
No, and I'm grateful. Again, I think it's really refreshing. And if we're being honest, for you to do that for the American English audience is very kind, because I would not be offended or taken aback if you wrote everything in Spanish and we just had to figure it out for ourselves. I mean, communicate it however you want to. Like, and then, like, because again, long before you were on this earth, Bach was communicating how he wanted to, and Handel was, and
His language.
Beethoven was, and why can't we do it how we want? And so, if I would
That's
have
true.
opened up your score and all your expressive markings were in Spanish, I'm like, okay, I guess here's Google Translate. Let's figure this out.
That's true. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
We kind of attach ourselves to their ways because they came before, but they were doing it their way.
Exactly. But again, we don't talk like that. We talk like this is how it's always been. But the truth is, we didn't have a species counterpoint book until someone wrote counterpoint and someone analyzed it to be a species. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Palestrina wrote first, and then Fuchs went back and wrote a book about counterpoint according to Palestrina. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? Like, slow, like it's just music. Chill out. Like,
Yeah, I also don't know why I'm still remembering Morendo, but I never heard a conductor, telling Morendo choir here.
exactly. I mean, the point to conduct is to save time. Like the point is to be as efficient as possible. Like how quickly can we render the effect?
Mhm.
Like how quickly can we channel what the composer wants off the page? And whether you say subito or suddenly, like whatever gets it done quicker is what we're about. So like I love your very just straightforward, the happy choir, here's my
Thank you.
brand, everything is approachable, and I dig that. And I also love, I mean, again, so I bought these books, and the reason why I bought them
Thank you.
is, and the reason why I was able to buy them so quickly, because they were so affordable. So I had to assume that that was on purpose as well. Like you have great music in these collections, and you could have, like a lot of other collected books, like charged me 40 to 60 bucks. And I think, wasn't it like 15 bucks or cheaper? Can't
Yeah, I
even
think it's
remember.
it's under 10, I think.
Yeah, I was like, it might
There,
even been like $8 or $9. So cheap that I was like, this can't be real. I thought I was getting faked out. Like, no, for real. I was just like, okay, I'm about to get hustled, but at least it's only like $9. I thought I was gonna come back and it'd be like some QR code or something. I'm like, what? How you trying to play me?
it's been interesting because I've got mixed feedback with it in terms of that idea too. Like people are saying like you're not valuing yourself and etc. Right? But I come back to the other side. Number one, I'm one of the ones that is buying most of these scores to also give away sometimes, right? For example, in a CDA. But also, I think a lot about people who want to have access to these scores and more. And collecting scores, it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just heard somebody say like, I have all of these scores from the conference that I bought, and it's day one, and I'm not going to stop. But my bank account just goes down and down. And I don't want money to be the reason why people cannot,
Yeah.
get access to this music. Because the same way, when I go to consume somebody else's music, I don't want, right? I want to be able to have access to it. Um, and it's been awesome to be able to produce these books in the way that they're produced. I enjoy how tidy they look, and how everything it's clear,
I agree.
and that I can share them in that price, and people can have access to it.
Right.
It's a way of just kind of trying to share the message, trying to this is my invitation letter for us to let's talk.
Right. And you could have just as easily, like I think Will said, like that you made it affordable, but also it comes off as this very professional publication. Because you could have just as easily sent us all these spiral bound photocopies because the price point was so affordable. I wouldn't have been like, how dare he? I would be like, okay, that makes sense. This is what I paid for. You know what I'm saying? But it came in this very polished, like composer notes and separated contents, and it came off just really, really well done for an affordable price. And some of your friends might be right. You might have messed up the game, because now I'm looking at other books like now. So you're telling me you could do it at this affordable price and have a professional level done, but you chose not to. But you gotta make a living. I don't ever want to get in front of someone and their money. I will just say I was grateful to be able to get these things. I bought it around Christmas time, and
Yeah,
I already
and
was spending all this money for gifts and stuff. So it was great to just be able to go on the website, click real quick, and not feel spending less than $20 for 2 books. Like, that's not going to hurt me. So for
yeah,
me, and I
and you
recognize
want
there's
to
other
be
people
able,
that still will hurt, but
yeah, and you want to be able to also enjoy the product, right? I think a lot about again, since I think I always think as a singer before a composer. And when I come to what I'm putting out there, I want to be able for people to enjoy what they're reading, what they're doing, what they are exploring. So whether it's the music that they're singing or the things that they're reading, I want them to be able to have an experience with it. So it's been really nice to be able to do it, and to be able to connect to people thanks to that, which is always the end point.
yeah,
The music is great, but it's the way that we get to the point of being together, of talking
right.
about the things, right? And a lot of people are like, well, you're a composer, how can you when I say sometimes that I think I'm more of a visual person than a how do you say, a hearing person, or a like the way that I see, and the way that I consume the world. I'm more visual than audible. People are like, but you're a composer. I'm like, well, yeah. I don't know. It's something that drives the way that I do things, and it was a surprise for me, because when I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a collection of my books, it was like, do I have enough music? Do I have enough? Do I have the way to do it? And it was awesome to see how I could create something that looked great, that felt great, and that rendered well the music for people to be able to see it. Because in the end, I don't want barriers to be in between. You know it well. You're right, when you come to rehearsal. You're a core musician, so when you come to rehearsal and you cannot understand what's on the page,
Right.
right, you start to like, how am I going to translate it for the choir, or how am I going to sing this, right?
Right.
And it's been awesome to be able to share it.
Yeah. I'm grateful. And then for me in particular, trying to always, what composers do I not know? Like, and to be able to have a whole collection of your scores at my fingertips. So after we do Ayúdame, I can go right back to another piece and continue to explore your stuff. And because your website is so great, and I mean it sincerely, you have a really cool website. It's so easy to just get everything done. We ate up so much time talking about your background that we haven't had enough time talking about Ayúdame in Venezuela. So a very hard segue, because we were talking about all this joy and this pleasure. Let's talk about what led you to write it.
But that is
So
also part
so
of
sorry for
learning.
those listening. So Ayúdame is a dedication to the Venezuelan people. And And specifically, is this the most recent crisis from Hugo Chavez to the most current president? Like, or does this connection go back to even before like the 2000s?
Chavez was in power. I don't remember the year that he came, but yeah, it was around the 2000s where things started to decline quickly. And you know that Venezuela being place for petroleum export and all of that was a very rich country that came to a very poor country very fast.
Right.
Yeah. So, I was going to say that a hard segue, but is part of that understanding of the happy choir, what it means, because it does give joy to my community and to me that we're talking about these things, because one of the problems with Venezuela for so many years has been the communication, right? So things are happening there, but the world outside Venezuela doesn't know, and the people inside Venezuela sometimes just don't know because the media is not showing these things, right? It's controlled. So there is, it does connect to the joy of okay, we're being heard, we're being thought of, we're being prayed for. The This piece actually came after a big joy that rapidly declined. So to get you in context, my husband is a conductor of course, Austin. His name is Ryan Heller, and he was on his 10-year anniversary with the choir. So I was doing a piece for him for that celebration that is called I Am Light. And the text is very simple as well. I am light, you are love, you are light, I am love, right? I think I'm saying it wrong, but that's not the point. The point is it's a celebratory piece. Everything is happy. It's about light and love. And then Venezuela goes into a 1 week and they lost power. The entire country lost power. Right. We know now for all of the things that have happened here, right, and even in the US, that that's just losing power. It's just um, catastrophe. So yeah, I think that's how to translate to English. But the point is that I was feeling just like helpless. I wasn't able to communicate with my family. I didn't know how they were doing. I knew that a lot of people were dying because all of their food was going bad. The hospitals didn't have power to help. Everything that you could think that was going wrong in a country that was already struggling, that was going wrong. And I thought, how can I help from here? How can I do something that at least let me help in some way? And it's been beautiful to see how people have responded to this, because not only they have understood what's happening there and talked about it, but also some people have actually reached me and say, hey, how can we donate to things? How can we help people around in our neighborhood that might have families there? It's been beautiful to just be able to channel that, right? So then I learned, okay, I cannot, me physically, I cannot do much, right? As much as I wanted to do, but I can use this to then ask for help, right? The whole thing about the piece is to how difficult it is to ask for help, how difficult it is to sometimes put yourself out there in that vulnerable place. In fact, the way that I built the piece, that this is the first time that I've explored with the spoken part, and it's been also eye-opening for me, because it's another one of the things that I think is a signature of what I'm trying to explore in my music. As a singer, again, I was thinking, okay, you can sing things, you can connect to the music, but there is something different between the spoken voice and the singing voice, right? Sometimes I found myself asking, how would I feel if I'm singing the word Ayúdame, or if I'm actually asking for help, right? So what I wanted for people to experience, which I don't know if it sounds right, but you tell me, what I wanted for people to experience, it was how it was to be in that position, in those shoes of saying, hey, I need help, I am sick, I am hungry, I cannot see. That's actually where it comes, the I cannot see
Right.
phrase, because of the power. There wasn't any power, and the evenings were just
That's a good note. Thank you for
darkest.
that.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I finally heard from my parents and my family, and everybody was okay, just just suffering. And when I was there, it was already there were already a lot of things happening. There were already power cuts, so it was kind of a normalcy there. In fact, my mother texted me yesterday, hey, how you doing? All of that, we're talking, and she says, oh yeah, we're okay. We just don't have power right now. They're not letting us know when they're taking it out and for how long it is, right? So it's still happening. Things are still out of control. But as we say
Wow.
sometimes, yeah, as we say sometimes, it's nothing major is happening. It's like things are level. Things are bad, but nothing major is happening, right? So it's been just, um, I think, helpful for me to be able to talk and have these conversations with people, because then they can, in the same way, help me to spread the message and get things done. Just this week, we heard it at ACDA. Ayúdame was performed with Bruce Rogers and the Mount San Antonio, and they were telling me that they went, for example, a few weeks ago to the border. They saw a lot of people from Venezuela there as well, and were able to understand what they were going through, just because they were already studying the piece and they were already doing their research.
Mhm.
So I think it really showed me kind of the power that we can have with our voice, right, when we come together and have these conversations.
Mhm.
Um, it's just such a painful it's a painful piece for me to go through every time that I'm in the audience, and I'm hearing,
Right.
it's a
Right.
it's a whole thing of feelings for me. But I'm in the end grateful, because if it is it's because it's honest. It's because it's
Yeah. I mean,
grateful because
to that point though, that's what I mean. And again, there's so much here that I would love to unpack. Like, so you have at the same time the brand, the Happy Choir, and then you have a piece that is so confrontational. Like what stuck out to me when I was listening to it was that it was just directly, look at me. I am
Mhm.
thirsty. Help me. I am suffering. Listen to me. Like, just like, so take me there. Like, so yes, you're asking for help, but you're also not asking. Like, you're done asking. Like, so like when you were writing it, were I'm reading it as not just pain but anger. Am I interpreting that
Yes.
accurately?
No, yeah, that was there too. In fact, I think some of the frustration from my point of view came to it too, right? But to the frustration of knowing that these things were not being talked about, and even in the country, right? So even in the country, you can see like things are fine, nothing is happening, right? And you know that these people are suffering too. You know that um, they are part of the country, and they are not safe. They are
Mm-hmm.
not living their life as they could, and still they choose to not speak up, right? So yes, there is some anger there. There is some, what's the word I want to use? It's like I'm trying to,
Indignation.
yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of surprised that I'm here. Why are you looking past what's
Yeah.
happening? So uh, again, simple text, simple phrases,
Yeah.
just a conversation, right? And it's both that personal conversation. It's kind of, if you think about it, it could be a one-on-one, it could be a one on millions, right? But it comes to that place of, I'm here in front of you and I'm telling you this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Another layer that appeared later for the piece that I can also talk to you about is because when I heard it live and all of this, I also felt that side of the self, right? The text reminded me of how difficult it is for ourselves as people that go through challenges, to ask for help, to say, to ask, can you take a second and look at me? I'm going through a difficult thing and I need some help.
Mm.
It reminded me of those moments that we feel so vulnerable that we might push those things down. Um, and it's been interesting to have both conversations with choirs. It's like when I hear, in fact, first of all, I have to say, that the name of the organization is amazing. Hear us, hear them. It just there's so much there to unpack. It's the action is call to action. It's direct. It's very simple. It's very powerful, and it reminds me of that. It's a way of trying to connect, of trying to share yourself and share what's happening, and that's a vulnerable place, but one that it's needed, one that it's that's why we're humans, right? Because we want to connect with others.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're over time, but let me unpack two more things and I'll let you go, Carlos, if that's fine.
Yeah,
Is that all
that's
right?
fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the bill. So I don't know if you have the score in front of you, but around measure 44, you have 4 speakers freely speaking. And then by the end of the piece, everyone is speaking. So talk to me about the small amount of speakers breaking away from melody and going actual spoken voice, and then how it expands. Like what was your vision there?
Yeah, so I think for me, it comes to two things. One is that the noise over the normalcy, right? So sometimes, you have people who are saying things, but we just continue.
Yeah, I dig
We
that.
just, we're like, nothing is happening. I hear it, but nothing is happening, right? Um, the way that some people have staged it has been, kind of also like people are talking to the choir and they are ignoring them. But it's that way of saying some people dare to say things and we still don't hear them. We still continue to to do our thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think both sides, there is the pain of the speaking, there is the pain of the speaker, but also the choir has this grief that's going through with the music. Those things coexist. Those things are both in the same plane. So that's something that I wanted to explore. I didn't want it to stop, and I've done that in other pieces, right? Stop speaking and then come back to music. I wanted here to, this was the first time, but I wanted here to overlap them. It I think really speaks to how once once you start to hear that noise, right? Even though it's only 4 people, right? It can have an impact. The way that it evolves, and in the end, everybody is talking, though sad because it is not like things got better. At least it's that hope that more people will accept and join into the discussion that needs to happen, right?
So is that the intention with the ending being everyone's spoken word and it being directed completely to the audience, like is to invite them into the conversation?
Yes.
Because I interpreted it differently. And so thank you for saying that. Like I interpreted it as, hey, look at me. All 36 singers now are looking in your face and saying, pay attention. Like I exist, I matter.
Yeah, that too. It has many layers, and for me, it's about the disruption too. The disruption of we were singing, now we are all in this place experiencing, because again, thinking as a singer, right? Experiencing what it's like to talk these things, what it's like to say these things. It's I think it's a different pain for me when I think about it. I can sing, I am hungry, what to have to say I am hungry to somebody, you know, and to know that I don't have the food to come that, you know, this evening, it's a different pain for me. And to know that some people are in that way, not only in Venezuela, but in many places, it's painful. It's you know, you want to do something about it. And something that also you see, so in the end, you know, speakers are usually kind of stop and you know, they start to disappear basically. It is two things, and it's been interesting to see because not many people have been able to be comfortable with the silence at the end, and some use it as a way of transitioning to other pieces, which is completely fine. I always say that for me um the concerts and the collaborations, you know, are an experience, right? And we are creating together, right? I'm not like, I'm not the type of composer who says, you know, you have to do everything that it, you know, that I put in the score right the way that I put it, because you get experiences with different ensembles. You get to work with the people. That's why we don't want to do a copy and paste, right? We don't we don't want that. Why would we have different choirs if we want to copy and paste the same thing, right? So many people have pair the piece and transition from the spoken to another piece. And it's been interesting to see all of the pairings in how it enhances the story, how it changes the story, right? How it takes us to another journey. But the piece itself, when it finishes and it goes to everybody out, is both because either people gave up uh, trying to fight this, right? Gave up and because it has happened in Venezuela. Many people have fought for many years and be vocal about it, and then you start to wear down. You start to say, nobody's hearing, nobody's listening to this, and I need to go on. I'm gonna burn out, right? But also because people are dying, people are disappearing, right? People are literally cannot talk anymore, cannot. There was for so many years, you know, people who were doing hunger strikes to be heard and all of that. So um yeah, that's kind of the idea of that ending as well.
Yeah, I dig that. Like, and we'll end on this, but like, I just need to tell you, like, my connection with the piece and why. And I said this in an email before, that the survivor's remorse vibe, I completely understood. Like, I'm seeing a suffering that is happening to me and mine, and I can't do anything about it, and they're feeling that helplessness. And like, so it's just as strong a story, just from an international humanity perspective. But I'm reading this, and the reason why I couldn't let it go, if I'm being honest and candid, it was my blackness. Like, I black man am as helpless as anyone, and all I can yell is, look at me. Like, look, help me, don't you see me? And it doesn't matter, right? Like, however many degrees I get, how fancy my house is, or how covered I am financially, at any moment I go out into the world, my life can be threatened, and it's just a helplessness. Like, and it just always exists. Like, so as you're talking about, like, these four voices, like, are like, you know, are bringing up these issues, and you can hear it, but you're acting like you don't want to hear it. Like, that's like the issue that I toil with all the time, that, like, in anguish. Like, so when I see this piece, like, it is just as much, if you'll allow me, forgive me, it's just as much my story as it's the story of Venezuela. And I don't mean that to be dismissive or diminish the struggles of the country. What I am speaking to, though, is I felt just as angry and desperate and weak and helpless as you were channeling for your community and your identity. Because I just, that's why this piece, I just couldn't let it go. I mean, I don't like, if I can pull back the curtain, I don't like programming pieces that I know are becoming popular, because I don't want to be yet another choir just doing it and looking like, oh, look at me. Or like, I'm trying to find the cool composer, sure, but what piece hasn't been performed is my logic. So, like, knowing that a piece has been performed at ACDA, or performed, you know, at IU or North Texas, like these branded programs, like let me find another Cordero piece that tells a cool story as well that isn't being performed yet. That's usually my intention, but I just could not shake myself from this piece because of the simplicity in the confrontation. Like, so I just need to share that with you. I don't know if those are
Thank you so
conversations you
much.
typically have from other cultures or identities, how they are connecting with the piece as well.
I really appreciate it, because
Yeah.
that's part of the vulnerability of the piece. It allows space to hold for other stories, and I feel that's very important because the same way that I'm saying, hey, look at the people in Venezuela. This is happening there, right? It's happening to my people. I want to also learn that I am overlooking things. There are things that are happening in the world that I might not be aware of, and I want to know those things, right? Something that I'm very, for example, guilty of sometimes is that my bandwidth gets limited, and there are days that I'm like I cannot hold more news, right? And
Yeah.
I understand that that's happening to a lot of people, right? So the piece has taught me that it's very human to that happens, but my willingness to say one day I am ready, let me see, you talking to me about this, tell me about those struggles, right, is what allows me to know that we are in the right goal of being kinder to each other, right? Because I could come here and tell you, no, this is only Venezuela and you have no space for it, but it is about that. It is
Which,
about
if you did, would be absolutely fair. Like, I promise it would be.
No, it's okay. Many people have talked to me about that too. I've had I don't remember where I was, but one of the singers told me, I'm an immigrant too. I'm not from Venezuela, but my country is also going through very difficult stuff, and it's difficult for me to not relate to it. I know that it's about Venezuela, and it was like, no, it is also about you're also speaking for your people, right? You're also advocating for your story. So as I am advocating for my story, you're advocating for your story, and one doesn't cancel the other. I
Yeah.
feel it's important for me.
That's what's up. All right, so we'll let you go on this so we can finish on something positive. So your songbook talks about one of your favorite pieces being, what do you want? And so I'm going to leave you with that question. So Carlos Cordero, what do you want for us to know? What
You
do
know,
you want?
something that I want right now is to be able to hold more of these conversations and to learn more from people and how we can connect to create a kinder world for each other and for everybody. For each other, meaning everybody. Because I feel that somehow in the years, we've forgotten a little bit of how simple it could be to make things better, right? I know that there is a lot of complexity happening in our world, but acts of kindness are always powerful, right? As small as they can be, or as big as they can be, small things lead to big ones. So something simple that I want to do is to hold more of these conversations to learn how we can ease people's mind and at the same time be able to welcome them more.
All right. Well, that's what's up, Carlos. We are very grateful that you were able to make time for us to talk about you, your music, and this very powerful piece. Jamie,
Thank
you
you
want to
so
say
much.
anything else to close us out?
No, just thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the singers and to our audience that we're able to connect in this way.
Yeah.
So, and I learned a lot as well. So
Exactly. We truly believe that this is how music should be presented. Like, we should find enough time to understand the communities we're representing in our music. So this
Yeah,
doesn't do everything, but this helps us a lot. So thank you so much.
yes, and hopefully in upcoming times we can also talk about something that I'm advocating for is poets. In this case, I wrote the text, but when I get to work with living poets, sometimes they are left out of these conversations, and as you say, these conversations are important because we learn so much about the why of the works and how do we connect and how do we understand together the piece, right? So it's amazing. Thank you so much for all your work that you're doing and for this time. It's just my pleasure.
Yes, and I promise you, this will not be the only piece I ever performed by Carlos Cordero. So, yeah,
Okay.
and I can't wait to hear that opera.
I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you.
You have a great day.